Jon Chambers is the principal at Schultz, Collins, and Lawson and Chambers, and he specializes in the analysis and design and implementation of investment programs for retirement plans. Mr. Chambers has served on the board of Western Pension and Benefits Conference.
Chairman Miller, Ranking Member McKeon, and distinguished members of the committee, thank you for the opportunity to present my views on 401k fee disclosure to this committee. As an investment consultant to defined contribution plans, I focus a significant portion of my practice on helping plan sponsors and other fiduciaries to quantify and understand the fees incurred in relation to their plans. For our clients, we typically review fee structures once a year. Additionally, we're regularly engaged to manage a more formal request for proposal or RFP process intended to help plan fiduciaries select a new plan provider or to validate the retention of an existing provider. Since we examine 401k fees for a broad cross-section of plans, we are well positioned to see a variety of fee arrangements. I'd like to share some real-world examples from our practice that will highlight how H.R. 3185 would help plan fiduciaries make better decisions. As the committee has heard, one of the most contentious elements of 401k fee structures is revenue sharing, which essentially is the transfer of investment fees to cover administrative costs. I'd like to share a few examples about revenue sharing and how it can be used positively or negatively, and how even the largest employers frequently misunderstand it. Recently, we were engaged by a large 401k plan sponsor to help with investment issues related to a fund mapping. This particular plan sponsor hadn't worked with an investment consultant in the past. Fiduciary reviews were conducted by the financial firm that served as the plan record keeper, working with the company's own treasury staff. The company would not have engaged an independent consultant if it hadn't been for these mapping issues. That didn't mean that they didn't provide regular fiduciary reviews of the choices, but they did it working with the financial services firm rather than with an independent consultant. The company's contract with the financial firm provided for no explicit fee payments. Record keeping and compliance services were covered by profit margins on the financial firm's proprietary funds, as well as revenue sharing payments from non-proprietary funds that were offered through the plan. The plan sponsor thought that plan fees must be reasonable because as they reviewed each investment option had reasonable fees. Now, as we worked on the mapping project, we also did a fee reasonableness study, and we demonstrated that the total fees being generated by the financial firm were approximately $1 million higher than were necessary in an unbundled arrangement. This company was able to negotiate share class changes with their financial services provider that saved plan participants approximately $1 million a year. I'd like to stop and highlight here that one of the important elements of H.R. 3185 is the need to disclose different share class availability. That's something that most plan sponsors wouldn't know about unless they either worked with an independent consultant or there were a requirement that it be disclosed to them. As an investment consultant, we work with large plans primarily. We don't get an opportunity to work with smaller plans most of the time. They can't afford our services. We believe that H.R. 3185 would bring the type of information that we provide to larger plans to bear for smaller plans. Very briefly, I'd like to talk about an RFP that we manage for a smaller plan, a plan with about $15 million in assets. When we run an RFP, we typically include proposals from both bundled and unbundled service providers. And we ask both the bundled and unbundled providers to separately propose fees for administrative and investment management services. This lets the fiduciaries make an informed decision about the cost and quality of each service element. A recent proposal that we ran for this regional bank solicited 5 proposals, 2 from insurance companies, 2 from mutual fund companies, and 1 from an unbundled TPA provider. One of the insurance companies refused to propose unbundled services, and we neglected to consider their proposal further. Another insurance company said, yeah, we'll unbundle services, and they actually had the highest fees. However, they said 0 fees were available if their fixed account were used as an option. The 2 fund companies had mostly unbundled arrangements. One fund company had higher management fees and lower direct fees. The other had lower fund fees and higher administrative fees. And finally, the TPA had the lowest overall costs. Our client chose to go with a relatively low-cost mutual fund company because they had the information to make an informed decision. We believe that H.R. 3185 would provide the opportunity for plan sponsors to get enough information to make informed decision, thereby driving down total costs of plan administration for all Americans. Thanks for the opportunity to testify.